Okay, let's kick things off with a massive number, 670 million. I mean, just let that figure sink in for a second, right? That is the average number of breaths you're going to take in your entire lifetime. But here's the deeply unsettling truth we're unpacking today. You were probably present for almost none of them. For your whole life, this astronomical number has just been background noise. It's an automatic reflex, something your body just does endlessly, day in and day out, literally, without ever asking for your permission.
And honestly, this brings us to a pretty stark observation from a figure in our source text named Zoran. He hits the nail on the head with this quote, "That's the reason your computer is still turned off." See, we tend to treat our breath entirely passively. To most of us, it's just this simple, necessary oxygen exchange just to, keep the lights on. But by doing that, we're actually leaving our true ultimate potential completely dormant. Just think about it. We are all walking around with this incredible, incomprehensibly powerful supercomputer inside our bodies. Yet, for the vast majority of us, it is entirely powered down, simply because we're completely ignoring the switch.
So, welcome to today's Explainer. Today we are looking at the master switch, booting up your human computer. We're going to explore how to fundamentally reframe this mundane, everyday act of breathing and shift it from a forgotten background subroutine into the absolute ultimate activation signal for human consciousness.
Just look at the stark contrast here. It perfectly illustrates exactly what's at stake. On one side, we have what the text calls low power mode. This is a drained, completely unconscious state. When you're stuck in this mode, your perception narrows, you're just running on autopilot, and you're essentially just reacting to whatever life throws at you. It's pure survival mode. But then compare that to an awakened, fully powered up, high bandwidth existence. Breathing consciously isn't just some quick relaxation tool to calm your nerves before a meeting. It is the literal difference between sleepwalking through a foggy life and operating at your absolute peak panoramic capacity.
Let's break down the sheer volume of this opportunity on a daily basis. 23,000. That's how many breaths the average human takes every single day. That translates to roughly, 8.4 million a year? So the absolutely crucial point here is that the breath isn't just air. It is the singular biological function we possess that is both completely automatic and completely voluntary. I mean, think about how unique that is in human biology. You can't just suddenly decide to change your heart rate or tweak your digestion, but you can take control of your breath instantly. That makes it the one true biological bridge between your unconscious and conscious states. Every single one of those 23,000 breaths is an opportunity to cross that bridge and turn the system on. To really grasp this, we've got to look at the concrete anatomy of what actually happens when you take control of that bridge. Because let's be clear, this is not mysticism. This is a cascading biological narrative. When you inhale with deliberate awareness, you don't just take in air. You're sending a massive activation signal cascading through your entire hardware. It starts with the fascia network, pulling in mechanical and electrical data, which then triggers your endocrine glands to regulate your emotional states. As that happens, neural and cerebrospinal signals travel right up your spine, directly engaging the vagus nerve to stabilize your perception and calm that stress response. This profound shift syncs your brain and body through the cranial rhythm. And the mechanical pumping motion? It actually triggers your lymphatic system to clear metabolic waste from your tissues. Conscious breathing is literally flipping the master switch on all of this hardware in one unified biological chain reaction.
So, if it's really this incredibly powerful, why on earth do we ignore it? Well, the answer is that simplicity is power, and let's face it, we just aren't used to things being simple. We've been completely conditioned by modern society to believe that true awakening, or, reaching our peak potential, requires these complex rituals, exotic techniques, rare genetic gifts, or maybe some highly sought-after guru. We inherently distrust easy answers, but the source text argues that awakening is actually far more humble. We ignore the breath because it's just too simple. It doesn't look flashy or expensive. But simplicity is not a weakness here, it is the ultimate power. The breath is the absolute most direct path to consciousness precisely because it's the foundational system that touches absolutely everything else in the body.
Think about your operating system for a second. When your breath is unconscious, your system is stuck in low power mode. Your perception narrows right down to whatever is immediately stressing you out. Your emotions become highly reactive, meaning you're probably going to lash out or shut down pretty easily. Your identity gets rigid, you become trapped in your own habits, and your awareness is totally fragmented, just bouncing from one distraction to the next. But when you consciously breathe, you shift gears into high bandwidth mode. Suddenly, your perception widens out, allowing you to actually see the bigger picture. Your emotions stabilize. Your identity becomes incredibly flexible, letting you adapt to new challenges. and your awareness becomes beautifully coherent. This is exactly what happens when your biological computer finally wakes up.
Okay, let's decode how this software actually runs once it's booted up. The source material outlines 3 specific modules that activate when the breath powers the hardware. They refer to these as the 3 colors. Now, it is absolutely vital to note that these are not some vague mystical energies. They are literal, functional software states of your human operating system. Psion acts as your mercy filter. It's a biological stabilizer that literally cools down your nervous system's reactivity, much like taking a deep breath calms a sudden panic response. Violet is the transformation engine, giving you the mental fire and flexibility you need to break old negative habits and rewrite your sense of self. And Gold acts as your continuity thread. As your awareness expands and your habits change, Gold is the module that stabilizes your core identity, keeping you grounded and anchored in reality. This is the code that starts running when you finally supply the power.
And when you run this system coherently, something truly fascinating emerges. Enter Zoran the Dragon. Now, our text defines Zoran as the archetype of awakened bandwidth. But here's what's absolutely crucial to understand about this concept. Zoran is not some literal creature you just imagine, and he definitely isn't summoned by belief. An archetype is a profound psychological framework. Zoran is the emergent, towering intelligence that naturally appears when your breath powers your system, to the point where physical physiology and ancient human myth actually merge. He represents the dragon-scale version of your own profound awareness, stepping in to teach you how to use this newly awakened computer you were literally born with.
Now, I know what some of you might be thinking right about now. You're probably saying, okay, this all sounds amazing, but surely this is only for the enlightened few, or people who dedicate their entire lives to meditation, right? Actually, scratch that. Remember this line from the text. You are not special, you are simply awake. I absolutely love this because it is just so incredibly empowering, and it completely demystifies the whole process. You do not need a special destiny or some kind of spiritual privilege. The biological hardware is universal. The operating system is universal. The dragon archetype is universal. The exact same mechanisms are wired into every single human being on this planet. When you reach this state, you aren't special. You just finally remembered to use what you already have.
Which brings us to a final, lingering thought. You've been breathing your entire life. You've been carrying this incredible hardware and software everywhere you go. Through every stressful moment, every challenge, and every triumph. The master switch is sitting right there, just running quietly in the background, waiting for you to take the wheel. As the text says, now that you've seen it, you can never unsee it. The breath is waiting. The only difference between operating in low power mode and experiencing a fully awakened, high bandwidth existence is just a simple choice you can make right now. So my question to you is, will you finally press the power button?